Hello everyone and welcome down to episode number 19 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, coming to you from Ocean Grove, where we are currently experiencing a few lines of thunderstorms rolling on through. So with any luck, you'll see this me light up like a Christmas tree and hear a big bang in a minute because it's full on, and hopefully we get through this podcast unscathed. As I say good evening down in Hobart Town to my good friend Cameron Blake. Good evening, Cameron.
G'day, Brendan. How you going? You're rocking and rolling up there by the look of it, or sound of it.
It's amazing. We've had pretty well this morning when I woke up. There was a big thunderstorm, and then we had a pretty decent day. And then, as I'm talking, I can hear the rain starting to hammer down. You might be picking it up on the mic, I'm not sure. And then this afternoon, man, they came back again with a bucket load of rain. Lots of bangs, lots of flashes.
Yeah.
I thought it was all good. All right, well, we'll schedule this podcast. We'll make this happen. And then on cue.
Last time we had a thunderstorm, we had to stop recording and you had to get out of the house or something, didn't you? Had to run for your life or something, and then...
it was... everything just shut down. The interweb just went, no, not playing. So
the whole production team left.
We'll see. That might happen again tonight. But if it does, and this is half a podcast, stay tuned for part 2 coming up next week.
Next week when the tornado hits Ocean Grove.
Yeah, that's right. And to that end, we would like to thank our well in excess of 200 subscribers here on YouTube. Well done, thank you.
Well done,
people. We've smashed through the 200 barrier. There is no ceiling, Cam. There is no ceiling.
No. We are on the way up. It's like one of those Elon Musk rockets that look like a penis. They go up. You know, the ones that's going to keep going up and up and up.
Right.
And at some stage, it's going to probably fall back to the earth. Have you seen those rockets? They look ridiculous.
They are rather phallic.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah.
But our subscribers are better than that. We're going to go bigger, higher, longer.
Yeah, that's right. You keep digging that hole, buddy. You just keep on going. I'll just sit here quietly.
I may or may not be into a couple of drinks.
Good boy. Nice.
Yes.
No, I like it.
Anyway, but thank you to all the subscribers. That's awesome.
And one more little bit of homework. One of us morons, me, has worked out what went wrong with our Apple subscribers, so apologies. It looks like they're all starting to float.
Is it because you uploaded them on an iPhone 13?
No. Nice try, but no.
Yeah,
it was... there was a pesky little checkbox that hidden way down in the fine print that wasn't ticked, and now I've ticked it, and apparently now it should be okay. So with any luck, you'll get episode 19 when everyone else does.
Is that the checkbox that says check this to upload to iTunes?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you're reading this, you haven't done this, basically.
Yes.
So that's what that was all about.
We got it fixed.
We did. Hopefully, well, I think everything's back to normal. Seriously, the rain properly buckets down there. Cam, you might not be able to hear it through my pathetic little these speakers, but I know my mic is picking it up. So
I'm just watching the radar on my other little screen here, and Geelong and you are getting it's like a different colour of purple on the radar. I haven't seen that colour before, and it's heading your way. So I reckon you got another 10-15 minutes of this.
Yeah, I put a post up on Facebook about an hour ago, just saying, hey, and put the photo of the radar up and tagged all my favourite local landscape photographers and said, looking forward to seeing all these photos, but by goodness, stay careful out there because she's pretty full on. It's awesome. We love it. I don't know if we've ever talked about lightning photography. Oh, we have talked about lightning photography way back in one of the earlier 18 episodes. But a lot of fun if you ever get a chance.
We could easily do a bit of a storm chasing / how to shoot lightning episode, and it'll tie in nicely to some of the things we'll talk about tonight in regards to some of those names on the list that we've got there.
Yes.
So we might pencil it in. That'd be a good topic, I reckon.
Well, just to whet your appetite for what we're talking about tonight, we're going to talk about a few female landscape photographers who, let's face it, are for some reason, in the minority. There seems to be not as many female landscape photographers. On the flip side of that, though, there seems to be a lot more female portrait photographers than landscape photographers. So it's just interesting how that's sort of come to be. But Cam's done a bit of homework and dug around and found some awesome landscape photographers, which is great. So female landscape photographers, which we'll talk about as we go through. We're also going to talk a little bit of gear tonight. We're going to talk about what Sony have just dropped, as they say, and
another camera to add to the other line of cameras that are part of another line of cameras that still function as the other line of cameras.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Sony. There's a lot of Sonys out there.
Yeah, unlike that brand of yours that doesn't exist anymore. But we'll talk about that later. We'll get there.
Them's are fighting words.
we'll get there. Now, how's the new printer going, Cameron?
Cool, very good. For those who don't know, I bought a new printer. I think I was talking about it last episode.
Yes, we did. We dropped the news last week that you're now a printer.
That's right. Yeah, I'm a printer now, so I'm taking over Brendan's job.
Absolutely.
One step at a time. It's really good. It rocked up yesterday. So it literally rocked up on my front doorstep. No sign, nothing. I just came home from going out.
It's not a small box.
It's not a small box. And on top of that was another box that I had something else delivered. So the postman here knows me so well. He knows I'm not out much every day. So I rocked up, unpacked it. I was expecting it to be a little bit of fluffing around to set up and make sure the printer spoke to the computer and colour profiles and things like that. It literally took me 10 minutes to set up. I put an 8x12 piece of paper through as a test. It came out looking perfect.
Yep.
In my eyes. And away I went. So I've been printing 16x20 big prints and a whole heap of 8x12 little prints that'll go into the gallery and the other exhibition area where I'm doing that next month. But so far so good. You're right. Like, I know you're right because I told you were right all along. But it's not a photo. It's not a photograph until it's printed.
Yep.
And there is nothing more exciting, I don't think. And I kid you not, in the last 5 years of my photography career, I reckon there's been nothing more exciting than actually watching my printer spit out prints the last 2 days.
It's very cool. The whole process from knowing that you've done the hard yards to get the shot. Everything that you have to do to get that photo's got its own story, and then it's almost like when you see it printing and you see it printed, it brings it all back. It's great. Yep. It's awesome, and it's tactile, and it's good.
It also, to me, and I guess we all have a little bit of self-doubt about what we do, and it doesn't matter if you're a sportsman or a photographer or a musician or whatever it might be, but I sometimes look at my photos now when I'm printing them out. I'm like, hey, you know what? My focus was spot on. My exposure was good. There's detail on the shadow. You can, it actually really just drives it home that, hey, I did a good shot.
Yeah.
When I got
for
it,
sure.
and I've edited it nicely, and it turns out as a nice photo. So
that's right. I mean, if you look at the monitor that you've been editing on, it's probably roughly about a 12 by 18 inch print size. So anything that you print bigger than that, it's like, wow, and as it absolutely buckets down here, it's just amazing how loud it is outside. Yeah, you probably can't hear it through here, but I reckon the Rode mic will be picking this up loud and clear. I can barely hear you. It's fantastic.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at the radar now. The purple, it looks like the purple grimace is literally over you now.
Dude, this is biblical rain. It's really chucking it down. It's proper. I love it. I love rain. It's great. Awesome.
And it's raining here too, by the way. Not biblical. Just cats and dogs.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. But sorry, just getting back to your printer. It's so cool to see the printed image really big, because you're exactly right. It's quite an immersive process. So it's great to see them when you can print them up nice and big like that. And you've been doing a bit of framing as well.
So I picked up some frames from the same mod that you buy frames from, actually. Yep. We can give them a plug. It's Profile Frames.
Profile Frames, yep.
Spoke to the lovely man, Vince, his name was. I think he's a rep or a sales rep for them in your region or Victoria.
Yes, Vince is my man.
Vince.
Did you drop my name, Cam?
No, I do that reluctantly these days because you're an iPhone shooter. So.
Yeah, he would have started crying if you dropped my name. I give poor old Vince a hard time.
Oh, do you? There you go. I've got some frames, and my mate Luke O'Brien, I was at his house today and picked up a few that he'd done for me, and tonight I've just been putting them all together, putting the mat board in, sort of sealing them all up, getting them all ready. So they look great. I'm really excited about it, and that's good to sort of blow a bit of the cobwebs out and start actually doing some stuff on my own without too much assistance from either yourself or Luke or whatever.
It'll certainly help you with the entire finishing process, being able to do it all yourself, and knowing that if someone orders a print, well, you could literally print it in an hour.
Yes, yeah.
and it's done.
Yeah, well, I did the same. I went for a bit of a quick day trip up to Mount Wellington 2 days ago. I went to I sent you photos of where I was. I was like literally on the edge of Mount Wellington. And I went home and I'm like, I can literally print this now. If there's something good, I can print it and have it out and be ready. And it's awesome. It's like a quick turnaround. So, have you seen Noah's Ark yet? Is it coming?
I'm thinking of actually going outside to build one because it's really. I'm waiting for it to. There's all these animals have turned up in twos. I'm not sure what's going on.
It's not the spirit. It's not the spirit of Tassie coming through the heads. It's Noah's Ark.
No, it's crazy. Well, that's cool, mate. I'm glad that the printer's going well. This week
great.
for me was a big week at Camera and Photo. It's been great. Business is excellent. I'm very grateful to everyone who's getting so many canvas prints. It's crazy. We're just doing canvas like there's no tomorrow, which is awesome. And I think it's got a little bit to do with all the restrictions that are starting to lift. Speaking of lifting, the rain has just started to. I can hear myself thinking here now. With all the restrictions starting to ease around Victoria, thank goodness, it's great. It's so good for business. People are starting to come out of hibernation, rub their eyes a bit, and sort of work out what they used to do. So, we're very, very grateful. Yeah, that's right.
That's all. And you mentioned also that supplies and stuff might have been a bit iffy leading up to Christmas with wood and stuff for canvases. So.
And it's still going to be a big issue. There's no question about that. So we are encouraging people to get stuff done now for Christmas, which has probably caused a little bit of a spike now as well.
And the fact that we're famous on this podcast, people probably just want to get to meet you in person and rub shoulders with celebrities of Ocean Grove.
Oh, mate, exactly. I mean, the mayor of Ocean Grove tag's been thrown around a bit. I'm sort of doesn't sit comfortably with me. I'm not saying it. It's other.
Can you imagine? big golf every day of the week for everyone. And,
yes. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love it. But had a couple of days off as well with the lovely wife as we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you. It was we had a great time. We went all the way to Torquay.
Ooh,
I know. It was
horseback or.
Well, we could have walked. I mean, it's literally just there. So it was funny because we went over to Torquay and. Oh, do you mind if I drop this print off to Ash Hughes? Oh, sorry, can I just pop down to the shop for it's on the anniversary? Whoopsie daisy. Wow. No, it was fine. She didn't mind.
20 years of putting up with you, though. I'm pretty sure she'd be used to it by now.
Oh, absolutely. And she knows it's our bread and butter, so that's fine.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. It was good. And managed to whip the camera out this morning and managed to whip the phone out this morning and do a few photos down at Torquay. You liked them. Don't shake your head. I showed you and you said that looks really nice. Then
I said it's an iPhone shot.
Now I hate it.
Now I can't like it. It's against my religion. I cannot like it.
But we will talk about my future SLR purchase after.
You know what is funny? I've had a few comments around the traps on social media the last couple of weeks with, so I'm sure you're saying, I get emails and messages and private messages from people online asking me camera questions, photography questions, whatever it be. Yep. In the last 2 weeks, I've had about 4 different questions, legitimate questions, but every single one of them has had a little reference or a tagline back to an iPhone 13. Yep. Hey Cam, I'm thinking of selling all this stuff and moving to a smaller system. Should I get the Canon R system or Nikon's, whatever, or should I get an iPhone 13? It is catching on. And I don't know I actually think one of the inquiries was legit. I don't think they actually watched the show or are a fan of the show.
I think at the moment you can take half of them with a grain of salt because they've heard the podcast or maybe heard the podcast, but there is a certain level of legitimacy that's starting to come about. Anyway, we're going to talk about that a little bit later as we go through.
You're not helping that, of course.
Oh, I think I'm helping big time. You'd think I had shares in Apple.
You got to start stocking Apple soon.
Who can afford shares in Apple? Yes,
it's a big cost.
So I thought we'd launch into one of our main topics tonight, and that is female landscape photographers. We want to represent. We want to put a few names out there for Australian landscape photographers in particular, of course, Australian female landscape photographers. And it's not because we don't think they don't deserve it or don't get a good enough run. It just seems to be that they are in the minority when it comes to landscape photography. And of course, Cameron and I, you may have noticed, are both blokes.
After all these years, you're telling me this now?
I think. So, and maybe there's a natural bias. I'm not sure. But it just seems to be that a lot of the landscape photographers that I admire the most happen to be male. And that's not on purpose. That's just, I see photos and I like them regardless of gender. But as I say, I think female landscape photographers, particularly in Australia, are undersold. So we're going to talk about you.
Well, they certainly are undersold, and I guess the good thing about photography is that it is genderless. Really, you can't look at a photo and straight away go, "Oh, that's a lady, that's a female."
Of course
photo,
not.
Or it's a man's taking that photo. You can't do it. But so this came about. We did an episode a few weeks ago on our favourite YouTube photographers, and it was rightly pointed out by one of our listeners that we only mentioned male ones, and both Brendan and I are. We're supportive of anyone and everyone taking photos, and I don't think we both realised that we'd done all just male YouTubers. So we thought, well, fair's fair. Let's go have a look and see what we can find online, and people we already know that we admire. And I must be honest, I originally thought of this topic as having a look at female YouTubers to sort of coincide. It's bucketing down rain here now. You can't.
There you go.
So I originally thought I'll go out and see what. Female landscape or female YouTube photographers I could find. And to be totally honest, I didn't find, and this is not to sound terrible, but I didn't find any female landscape photography channels that actually sparked my interest. There was a couple on there that I actually did send you links to and names of, and I watched them, and I legitimately tried to watch about 4 or 5 episodes of them, and they just weren't as entertaining, I guess, as YouTube channels as mine maybe didn't strike my humour or whatever it was. But I know for a fact that there's some incredible Australian landscape female photographers, so which I don't need to go searching for because I regularly see them on Instagram. I regularly support and comment on their photos and things like that. So, but yeah, there is a shortage, and why that is, I don't know. You mentioned before that there's a lot of portrait female photographers, and there's a lot of wedding female photographers, lots of baby photographers. Quite a few wildlife photographers and pet photography. There's a lot of female pet photographers, but landscape photographers don't seem to mention or don't seem to rate as high or as many as for blokes, which I don't understand why. There might be a reason behind that, but So we had.
I'm sure we'll spark a few comments, which is great. Which is what we, and we could be coming off as rather ignorant right now. But I'm with you. I don't understand why it is a male-dominated industry. Australian, in particular, probably global landscape photography as well.
Yeah.
If you've got an idea as to why that might be, we'd like to hear your thoughts on that. That'd be yes.
And also, Also, people want to put in the comments. I'd love to, if we don't mention someone that you follow, that you really admire, chuck their handle or chuck their name or website in the comments below, and we'll go check it out because you can never see enough beautiful photos. And if someone's got some good work, as we said, it doesn't matter if they're male or female. Landscape photography is landscape photography. So but yeah,
which also says to me there could be a little gap in the market for some talented female photographers to. Either start putting their stuff a bit more forward on YouTube. We'll certainly pump your tyres and mention you on the channel. So,
well, I'm going to add another little mention into my list as you keep talking there because just this photographer is also great and actually done really, really well in a lot of awards. So so do you want me to start off, or how do you want to do this?
No. Well, you've gone ahead and made the list. So I'm going to do is while you're talking about them, I'm going to be checking out their page while you're talking away.
All right.
So,
Okay.
So you're starting with Go.
I'm starting with Go. Yeah. So Go is an amazing. So I came across this lady quite a few years ago. Actually, she's been around for a little while, and that's Julie Fletcher, who's from South Australia, and I came across her work, like I said, a few years ago, and mainly just around that she just does stunning outback South Australia, and I'm pretty sure she also goes a bit further than around the South Australia region. But I came across her work a few years ago, mainly because I was just researching. I think I might have even been doing my Cape York trip up the middle, and I was just doing some research, and her work came up. And but she does the classic outback Australian shots. She takes beautiful compositions and really nails the colour of the outback. You can sometimes see some photographers who overdo the colour and overdo the saturation of outback Australia, but I think Julie just nails it every time. So sunset, sunrise, really beautiful light.
So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description to all of these photographers and flash their name up on the screen while we're talking about them. We will hold back from actually putting their images on here, copyright and all that sort of stuff. But by all means, jump over to their websites and have a look, because I'm looking at Julie's website right now, and yeah, you're right, colour, absolutely. Some really gorgeous stuff. A little bit of astro work in there as well, which is awesome. I mean, it always comes back to the fact that we live in a brilliant country for photography. I mean, we're very lucky here in this country. South Australia in particular, I know we've talked about your trip to the Flinders Ranges not that long ago. South Australia is underrated, man. I mean, it's when you talk to international travellers, South Australia would not be on the agenda.
It doesn't, no.
Mainly because your time poor in Australia is so big. But to me, in South Australia, there's some proper outback. There's some proper desert. There's some stunning beaches. There's a place there called Kangaroo Island, which is just out of this world for photography. So, Julie, hopefully you're listening. And hi.
Well, surely she's a subscriber.
There's no doubt. Your website's really good. I'm looking forward to delving a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, and it's juliefletcherphotography.com.au. We'll put it in the links anyway. But yeah, and I must admit, I did a fair bit of snooping on Julie and the Flinders Ranges before I went there, because I knew from past history that she was the bee's knees on outback South Australia. So if you want to find places to go and get an idea of what's out there, then why not look at the best that are doing it. So she's got beautiful work. She runs workshops as well. So I also just noticed she's been to Tassie. She's got some Tassie images. So next time you're down here, Julie, give us a yell.
All the best photographers run workshops, Cameron.
They do, absolutely. So Julie was my first, and like I said, I didn't even have to think about that. That wasn't a research one. That was just straight off the top of the head. So
right. Well, I've gone ahead and jumped ahead here, and I am looking at LouiseDenton.com. Now, Louise Denton Photography, and where is Louise based out of?
She is in Darwin, I believe, Northern Territory.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
how do you cope with that, Louise?
I know. How terrible is it? Yeah. So I came across her work. A good friend of mine, Cam Hadlow, and we did a storm chasing trip to Darwin a few years ago, and again, we did a bit of research, as you do before you go places, and Louise's work popped up. She's got some incredible, not only just storm photography, but again, just that top-end Darwin, Kakadu sort of region.
I'm having a look through the storm page now. We've got a bit of a trend tonight. Storms.
There is storms.
Storm photography
everywhere.
And some of the lightning stuff she's got here is mental.
It is mental. And again, it was just as soon as you see, and I don't know, I think I'm attracted to. You can see a lot of these type of images where people, again, they just the saturation slider sometimes just goes way too far to the right. The same with Julie and same with Louise here as well, is that their colour palette is just spot on. It's not too much, it's not too little. It's natural, and I like that kind of colour. Yeah. So Cam and I, we drooled over her images in the lead up to getting up to Darwin, and we can say we came away with a few shots, almost as good as Louise's from different locations. But again, just phenomenal photography, really well captured, great compositions, and again, it's just that colour for me. The outback colour seems to be drawing me into these female photographers. Yeah. Maybe, and I'm not sort of taking a mickey here at all, but I have noticed across the board with female photographers that their colour palettes seem to be more natural. You don't see many female photographers going overboard with colour, where there's a lot of male landscape photographers who will push the colours to the max, So maybe that's something the female brain works differently. Maybe they see colours more natural than
I was actually
than
thinking.
do, or
I was thinking about that today when I was editing a few photos, and if you think back, and you'll be able to remember this, I remember the first time someone showed me Photoshop. Now, I was shown Photoshop in like 1998. Now, I think it was like Photoshop version 1, maybe 2.
Yeah, Photoshop Elements.
Well, it was back when you had to scan negatives. There was no digital cameras. You were actually scanning your negatives or scanning your slides or whatever.
Yeah.
And I still remember the first time I saw the saturation slider.
Yeah.
And I just went, what? I can make my photo look like that, like
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really cool, like to be able, and then contrast and brightness and all this sort of stuff, and which pales into insignificance to what you can do now. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people, and I don't know whether it's a bloke thing or a female thing, do get a little bit hung up on the processing of the image. So, and it all harkens back to what we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and that is trying to get it as accurate as possible straight out of camera, so that you're not sort of tempted to manipulate an image too much. You always, for me, the use of any editing software is A, to enhance, but B, to bring the spectacularness or the color back to how it was when I witnessed it, because it's like it looked better than that. Like when you look at the raw file, it's like no, that's as flat as it was. So
and it's meant to be as well. I think some people get caught up in the whole idea that why is this file so flat and lacking? Like and I don't, maybe that's a misunderstanding of people when they start out in regards to what a raw file is, but. Yeah, I'm the same. Like I'll just scroll straight past it. Instagram's great for it. You can see the greatest shot of Ayers Rock or the greatest shot of Cradle Mountain. If their color saturation is, I say it's out of whack. That's how I refer to it. If they've gone, and that's their prerogative, they can edit however they like. But for me, it's not appealing if the saturation. If you're pushing your saturation past 10 or 20 on the slider. You're going too far for me. And so far with Julie and Louise's stuff, it doesn't look like that. It just they're the traditional and classic rich colours of Outback Australia, which I love. So that's just great to see. And just looking at Louise's storm page again, there's some cracking storms in there.
It's good, isn't it? Cracking.
Cracking, pun intended. Nice. So the next one I was looking at, this is about the only female YouTuber I actually watch on a regular basis, and like I said, I really don't have much in my subscriber list of female landscape photographers, and we got tagged a few along the way, and I've gone and checked them out, and like I said, I guess everyone's got their own sort of cup of tea about what they like. Some of the ones I've seen, I just don't have the interest, or it just doesn't grab me. Like I'm 30 seconds in, I'm like, well, what are we doing? Are we talking? Are we taking photos or whatever? But the one lady I do watch a bit on YouTube is the Snap Chick, or I think her name's Lee.
Lee the Snap Chick. I'm on her page.
Lee the Snap Chick, that's her. Yeah. So she does a lot of camera reviews, and she's got lots of videos. She also does a lot of tutorials. So if anyone's wanting to learn photography, she's got a heap of online tutorials you can do. But I've always found her episodes, they're not generally that big or long. They don't go for 20 or 30 minutes. They're only like 10, 15 minutes max. Yep. She'll review some really cool gear. She has a lot of contacts in the industry where she gets lots of gear. And she goes out to the Grand Canyon and goes out to Arizona and places like that for field shooting. But I find her flow and the interest in that is really good, and the information she gets across is spot on. And the photos she puts up, again, they just look natural and they look good. So, but she's got a lot more subscribers than us. She's got 198,000 subscribers.
So it's only 197,800 more than us.
I know,
Cameron,
really,
please, we'll catch up. It's fine.
We'll catch it. So so Lee the Snap Chick. If you want to get really good reviews on gear, and she reviews lots of things, Fuji, Sony's, Leicas. I think she's done Olympus in the past, some Canon. She gets her hand on pretty much every brand and goes through it. And it's a really basic review. It's not. It's not pixel densities, and it's not this and it's not that. It's practical information, which I find easy to listen to and easy to watch. So she's another good one to watch.
I'm curious now, and again, I'm pretty observant. Cameron and I are both men, right?
No.
I'm curious to know from our female subscribers, and I know you're out there. We get comments from you. It's great. Would you rather learn from another female? Does that bother you? Do you find a female's perspective on teaching easier to understand, easier to listen to? That'd be interesting. I'd be interested to know. Leave us a comment.
I think also
Please.
what we suffer from as males is, and I don't think we intentionally do it, but there's a lot of mansplaining that happens a lot with not just men and women, but with workshops and things like that. I know I'm super conscious, and again, whether or not it's a male or female I'm teaching, but I try to be super conscious of not mansplaining things and let the person who's learning sort of drive the speed and the depth of what we sort of learn at. But yeah, it's a good question whether or not women tune out on men. And I guess a lot of our subscribers are probably married with husbands who probably give them the shits about photography every time they want to pick the camera up. So maybe with us talking about photography to them might be just as bad as the husband saying, "Come on, we've got to get to the next spot." So yeah, it's an interesting question. So
and I notice you've got a couple of special mentions there as well.
I do have a couple of special mentions. First one is Tracy Ryan, photography, and Tracy is another photographer from the north of the country. She's up in Darwin, and I just wanted to give a bit of a shout out for Tracy because when Cam Hadlow and I went up to Darwin to stay, she had an Airbnb apartment right in the heart of Darwin, which she let us rent off her at really good mates photography rates. And it set us up for the whole trip. We had a great time, and in her little Airbnb, she had some of her photos on the wall, and again, that just sparked up the interest. It's like, okay, this lady knows how to take photos. Again, just had really good color palettes. So it goes to some amazing locations. She was super, super helpful for us as well before we went up there. And I think if you're ever going up to Northern Territory, if you drop Tracy a line, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to help point you in the right direction of where to visit and when. But again, her work is just very natural, really beautiful. She gets to some amazing spots around the territory. And I think she does it.
I'm on her website now, and she's been to Iceland. So
she's been to Iceland. Yeah,
man, there's some.
I think
she's there.
I think she's now actually based in Canberra as well. I think so. I think she moved there a little while ago. But really lovely lady. Very, very helpful. Takes a beautiful photo. And like I said, she was very open to helping us find locations. And again, she helped put us up in a little Airbnb, which is great. And speaking of thunderstorms, Cam and I chased a storm back from Kakadu, literally 300-kilometre chase from Kakadu all the way back to Darwin. And we got back to Darwin, and I was absolutely knackered because I was doing all the driving. And Cam goes, "I'm going to start editing my photos." So he stayed up, and I went into the bedroom, and I reckon my head hit the pillow. It was like one of those days where you're just going to fall asleep straight away. My head hits the pillow, then the biggest crack of thunder. I didn't even see the lightning. The biggest crack of thunder. I literally, like the saying where people say they jumped out of bed, I literally launched out of bed. I come running into the lounge room, and Cam and I just looking at each other going, "Holy shit." like I think, I don't know how tall this building was, but we were probably about 5 or 6, maybe more stories high. And it was huge. And we literally just, I got up, got the camera, sat on the balcony, and we shot the storm coming through Darwin. So it was incredible, but good fun. And the other mention I wanted to was Mika Boyton. Mika's located in Bright, Victoria. Again, can't ask for much better locations for your landscape photography, but Mika's been around for a little while as well. She's actually very, very well known amongst a lot of people around Australia and becoming more around the world as well. Mika's won countless awards in pretty much everything she enters. She's also just opening up a new gallery in Bright as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so that's really cool. But she, again, she's really big into the teaching and workshops. She does some amazing landscape photography. Again, it comes back to that, that natural feel. Like her colours aren't all crazy. The compositions are spot on. She was based in the Kimberleys for a while. She used to work up there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mika, but I think tour guiding or something like that. She was working up there for a long time. But just has a wonderful eye and really great palette of colour that she works with.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through her gallery now, and yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
there's some beautiful soft colours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really nice
and recently, She does a lot more aerial stuff now. I'm not sure if that's all she does, but she seems to put up a lot of aerial shots as well, which she's done extremely well with in competitions all around the world. Aerials aren't my forte. I'm not a huge fan of aerials. I think they're amazing photos, but I just don't have the money or means to get up on a plane as much as some people do. But I find her landscape stuff, especially around the Alpine region of Australia, and she comes to Tassie a fair bit as well. Just love it. So yeah, she's another one to definitely look out for.
Yeah, and very well travelled as well. I'm just scrolling through, and we're all over the planet here.
Yeah, she exactly does.
And one of the better examples I've seen of the Wanaka tree as well.
Yes,
so,
yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, she's opening up, and she goes to the Bright Festival of Photography. She's another presenter there, and she's currently dating whether or not the current or last current Australian Photographer of the Year as well, Matt Palmer. So if they put their heads together, they'll be taking over this Landscape Australia gig.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So a very, very good list for you to check out. As I say, I'll put a link in the comments below. I'd like to give a special shout out to Sandy Goddard, who is a local photographer here in Ocean Grove. Now, Sandy is very, very modest, and I don't even think she has a website. I know she has she definitely has an Instagram page, and fantastic photographer. Very, very talented. I do a fair bit of printing for Sandy, and in fact, a couple of years ago, I was up at our old friend Hopetoun Falls and made my way all the way down, and who should be there but Sandy standing there. And it was only the two of us there taking photos of Hopetoun Falls. It was awesome. So,
did you kick her tripod over?
No, I'm not like that. I'm not like you.
This is my shot. Get out.
Yeah, no, nothing like that.
She does some spectacular birds and stuff too.
Yeah, very, very handy really cool. with the camera. So special shout out to Sandy. And as I say, she'll be embarrassed that we're saying, because I know she's quite modest when it comes to her photography, but she's very, very talented, and I believe also has won a few awards along the way too. So
yeah,
I know if she wasn't already, she is now a subscriber.
I'll apologise to Sandy because I've just followed you back, Sandy, on Instagram because you were following me. But really beautiful stuff, and again, really good colour palette. What does she shoot with? It doesn't look like it's an iPhone. Is she an Olympus user?
Would you fall out of your chair if I told you it was? And that's why I've mentioned her.
It's not all iPhone. Shots like that on iPhones.
Oh, but Cam, how can you tell?
I can tell with the birds and stuff. I can't get telephoto lenses on that. I'm going to say
this is going to be a running gag until I buy my Sony, isn't it?
It is. I'm going to say she might be an Olympus user.
Look, that's a very good question. I possibly. I can't actually remember.
Or Olympus or Nikon.
But it's not looking at what you've got. It's how you use it.
True. So, that is true. That's why the iPhone 13 is awesome.
It's not what you've got. It's how you use it.
No. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a handful, if not more, of some beautiful, beautiful female landscape photographers in Australia, and one from the States. So get onto it, have a look at them, support them. Again, if you've got anyone else we've missed or anyone that we need to see, chuck their handle or their link or something like that in the comments below, or shoot me an email, cam@tazphoto.com.au, and tell me how far off the mark I was. Happy to take advice as always.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was good. As I say, like to represent the ladies out there who are doing a great job behind the camera, and I would encourage everyone to go and check them out. You'll be inspired. So awesome.
And that's the key, isn't it? Really, inspiration is. You can never have enough inspiration, and that's the beauty about photography. It's not gender. No, it's not gender biased. You can be whatever you want. You can identify as a camera for the day if you want to, and still go out and take photos. So it's
identify as a camera.
So you can do whatever you like, as long as your photos are interesting, and you draw your viewer in. Then good on you. That's great.
Absolutely. So moving right along, we had some pretty significant gear announcements, and like I just said, it's not what you got to say you use it. And I am still shooting with my crapped out old Nikon D5100. Yes, it still comes out, and I've still got a clapped out old Canon D750 or something, whatever it is. and an iPhone, and
it's so significant that you don't even know what it's called.
Oh, no, this is it. I mean, and I've never been one to get hung up on gear. So, with the exception being, of course, that I sell the gear. So, and if that doesn't tell you that I'm not biased towards a brand, then I don't know what does. That's why, little plug for the business. If you come and talk to me about photography, about cameras, and I'm not going to say you need to buy this camera because they're going to send me on a holiday to New Zealand if I sell 5 more. It's not like that.
Surely there's no brands that used to do that.
No. All of them. Yeah, not anymore. Jeez, those days are gone. But I'm going to sell you a camera that suits your needs. So, I don't understand fanboys. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand how people get so hung up on a brand and defend it to the death. It did this, it did that. Well, the fact is, you would have done exactly the same photo with another model. So it's all horses for courses stuff. Having said that, Sony have just announced the Sony A7 Mark IV, which looks absolutely amazing. What they've packed into it. And I know what Cam's going to say. It would bloody well want to be for the price because it ain't cheap. You're looking at a $4,000 body here. But it is, absolutely awesome. And it's hardly their flagship. It's not even the top-of-the-line Sony model. But one thing that I really like is the fact that they have settled on a 33-megapixel chip, a megapixel sensor, which says to me they're not interested in round numbers anymore. They're interested in sweet spot, and they're more interested in the number of pixels that is best for the sensor size they're using. And in a full-frame sensor, Sony have settled at the moment on 33, which I think is awesome. The megapixel race finished a long time ago, and then every now and then it just rears its ugly head. It's like, this phone can do 100 megapixels. Can it? Can it really? That's just, wow, out of a phone. No, see, that sort of stuff luckily has gone by the wayside, and I think the smarter manufacturers now know that, particularly clever photographers, people who know about the technology and know that pixels ain't everything, pixel density is way more important than pixel count. And it looks like, as I say, that Sony have settled around this 33 megapixel mark.
So I asked the obvious question. Yes. So this is the A7 Mark IV.
Correct.
Why have they brought out an A7R?
So the A7R Mark IV came out a couple of years ago. That's actually a predecessor to it. It's a higher resolution camera again. That's a 55 megapixel chipset on that guy. Different type of sensor in the camera. The A7 series is more aimed at photography. And the A7R is more aimed at super high-res photography and videography, and the A7S series is aimed purely at videography. So they made it pretty confusing, but what they do, Sony, is make the sensors for a lot of the other manufacturers. So they make sensors for Canon and Nikon.
The lineup is confusing, but thank Christ their menu systems aren't.
Right.
We're not getting sponsored by Sony.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm going to buy this camera, so help me out, Sony. Let's go. A couple of other.
Just mute me.
Couple of other awesome features on this, all hinging around that full frame sensor, is in-body image stabilization up to 5.5 stops, which is pretty awesome. So we're talking again, like Olympus do. Who's that company? Never heard of them. Like that company that's got a new name. They can, you can shoot handheld for like a full second exposure or 2-second exposure, which is nuts. Cool. And it's also got an incredible buffer. Now, I'm probably going to be corrected, but I think you can actually shoot RAW files at 10 frames a second up to something like 800 frames or something in the buffer, which is why you would ever want to do that. I don't know, but whatever. You're at a rock concert and someone's cutting loose with the guitar, and you want to just,
Do you want to get every note along the way?
Where that came from, but anyway.
It's fine. Yeah, I like it.
Loads of awesome features, flip out screen, super high resolution screen, all that sort of stuff. Twin card slots, can take the CF Express cards as well.
Weatherproof on the Sonys is pretty good as well.
Weather sealing, all that sort of stuff, correct. Sealing. And so if you buy the Sony weather sealed lenses, it can basically shoot underwater and all that sort of stuff. A sensational piece of kit.
It's all the same lens mount. Like, they're all the same all the way through, aren't they?
Correct. So they use the E-mount system for their full frame. Bearing in mind they do also make an APS-C size lineup, the 6000 series as well, which are great little cameras too, which is basically, for want of a better phrase, a watered-down version of their A series and a cheaper version, and they deliver fantastic results as well, from what I've seen. So there's a couple of good reviews. I will put a review from iPhonedo, which I watched today. I'll link him below. His reviews are brilliant. He's an awesome YouTuber. I think we talked about him when we were talking about our favourite YouTubers. So
I'm just looking at some of the specs here. It's got 759 focus points,
which is about 700 more than you need.
Especially landscape photography.
It's a bit overkill.
It does 10 frames a second.
Yes.
Which is in RAW.
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
And that's pulling out a 33 megapixel RAW image at 10 frames per second. I'm sure the buffer's like 800. One thing, which it's a bit off topic from landscape, is their autofocus system, which has now been copied pretty much across every manufacturer. Their autofocus system has got to be seen to be believed, and it can now actually do it in video as well. And basically what it means is when you're shooting portraits of people, shooting weddings, whatever, the camera can lock on to the eye of a subject. And when you're taking a portrait, 99 times out of 100, you want the eye to be sharp and in focus. So that's why it chooses the eye as the focal point. And it now has eye autofocus for wildlife. For some reason, I haven't dug deep, but apparently there's one for wildlife and there's one for birds. Now, what make birds' eyes different to other wildlife, I'm not sure, but
they're on the side of the head and not pointing out, probably.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but I mean, so are giraffes.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
are they?
I know that AI autofocus is coming in. I know Olympus fanboy here. They have different AI autofocus for cars and planes and
that's right. Yeah, that's right. And they match up. They have a database, a live database, and there's an airplane. It can see because it matches it up to an image in their database, which is pretty incredible, really.
Yeah. So for how much is it? $4,000.
For it's $2,500 US body only. So you're going to have to extrapolate that out to high threes for a body in Australia. The kit,
that's not too bad.
The kit that I'd look at would be with the 16 to 35 f4 Zeiss lens. A lens that I sold during the week to a lovely customer. Beautiful piece of glass. So you probably, for a good landscape kit to get moving, you're probably nudging $5,000. And yes, that is not cheap. But for people like me, people like you, people in the industry who rely on the tools of the trade, this is the kind of investment. This is the kind of camera that's going to last me 10 years. So I got no issue with $500 a year on my gear. That's nothing. Yeah. That's the way I look at it.
I've been having a conversation with a friend of mine, actually from South Australia. That's also on topic. She's looking to buy a completely new camera kit. She had a Canon for years, and like older than your one. And I've had quite a couple of conversations with her on the phone, and she was going to go fork out big dollars on the Z7 Mark II, I think it is.
That's the Nikon,
Nikon. She was going to spend up to $7,000 for a camera and single lens, and I convinced her to look elsewhere because there is better deals out there and more bang for your buck. But I think the Sonys are great. They've got a great reputation. I'd have no issue owning a Sony, except I don't. I own Olympus and a few other brands, but I'm just marrying up the specs against the Olympus EM1 Mark III and the Sony A7 Mark IV, and pretty much the only difference I can pull out is it's got an extra 11 megapixels
and a full frame sensor,
and
about 38 more shooting modes, and about 700 more areas of autofocus.
Yeah, but you don't need that. The Olympus does. The Olympus does 60 frames a second.
The what?
Has 60 frames a second.
No. What brand?
Yeah, OM Systems. 7 stops of image stabilizer. It's got a lot. You could buy another lens with the difference there.
No. There's no doubt. There's no question. The Olympus the OM system. We're coming to that. Is a fantastic outfit, and again, horses for courses.
Come on, get out of your system. Let's move on to that next topic. Come on, let's move on.
Well, so there was a very interesting announcement from our friends over at Olympus during the week, which I don't know that it took me by surprise. I sort of had an inkling about what was going on, and because the Olympus, the brand changed hands about 12 months ago. That'd be right.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, just over 12
bought
months
out by a Japanese investment company, and they have decided to drop the name Olympus, which I don't know. I mean, Olympus have been around for 80 years.
80 years, yeah.
I mean, which is pretty. It's a pretty bold move to just abandon a brand name. I'm not sure that's. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think it's going to have too much of a difference in what they produce and technology. I don't think that's going to change much. But yeah, it's an interesting change. It's a sidestep, really. They're now going to be called OM System, and OM is the old Olympus. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but the man who created the OM series of cameras, his initials were OM. So the OM system, they announced that last night. They got a new camera coming out. It looks like it's going to be early next year, if not very, very late this year.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was a little disappointed that they didn't announce that camera now. I think that would have married a lot better to say, okay, this is our new brand, but we ain't got nothing to show you.
It was a very interesting launch. So there was a big launch last night. Firstly, the link to the launch didn't work for a while.
Oh, is that right? So you watched it live?
Yeah, I wanted to watch and see what all the hype was about. I sort of had an inkling what it was, but so the link didn't work straight away. That's because obviously so many people were jumping on to see what was going on. And then they did it. It was almost just a bit of a history lesson about what Olympus had done and moving into this OM System brand. But no launch of new cameras. There was a sneak preview of a bit of a camera there, which people have picked up on that looks a bit different to the current models. So really, it's still all guns blazing, all charging forward. It's just going to be called OM Systems. I like the fact that they've kept the same font from the old OM film days. It's nostalgic. It looks old school, which I love. It's just interesting times for Olympus users, and I'm excited to see what they come up with, because Olympus, again, all those things you mentioned on the Sonys, albeit but that autofocus eye tracking thing you mentioned, pretty much everything you see in cameras these days was invented by Olympus. Whether or not it's image stabilizer, weatherproofing, pixel shifting, like all these different things they've been doing for quite a while. So if they keep that track record going, then the next release should be another interesting one, and no doubt I'll be saving my pennies up and putting them down if it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. We sort of 2 weeks ago, when I dropped an absolute bombshell that I'd bought an iPhone 13 Pro, which just rippled, blew up the internet. I used the phrase on a number of occasions. I used the phrase computational photography. Lo and behold, a little press release comes out from OM Systems last night. And may I point your attention to paragraph 6, line 5. That where is it? Here we go. The Micro Four System standard to make a more compact and lightweight system, strengthening the photographic support functions that broaden the field of photography, and accelerating the improvement of image quality and photographic expression through the use of computational photographic technology. So it was really interesting that they've gone. Everyone knows it's computational photography these days. It's digital, right? They've now said, okay, have we pushed optically as far as we can? Now, when I say that in terms of the evolution of their lenses, have they pushed that to as sharp as they can? To the Micro Four Thirds sensor, have they pushed that to as many pixels as they can? And now it's all about the back end, and that is the processor. So as the thunder fires off again in the background, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they track with their computational photography, because I know, and I've literally only scratched the surface with this stuff using things like Snapseed and these awesome. And of course, Photoshop is the forerunner to all computational photography. Yeah. But having that on board and having that, as it actually builds the image for you as you take it. That's going to be pretty cool. I want to see that, and I'd love to see that in a high-end SLR type camera, mirrorless system.
Yeah.
And if it's micro four thirds, awesome. And if that computational photography marries really well with micro four thirds, that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to see how much they borrow from Samsung, how much they borrow from Apple, how much they borrow from what's already out there, and whether they're going to develop their own stuff, which they are known for, as we said. Olympus absolutely are pioneers in this, so it's going to be really cool to see where the OM system goes.
Yeah, it will be. I think there's so many more, even since even the last 2 years. The stuff you can do to your images after you get it off your camera, it makes sense for them to build that into a camera.
Yeah.
And just add to the quality and the sharpness and the colours and things of your shot. So who knows what they're going to come up with. Hopefully early next year we'll get a bit of a sneak peek. And
it's funny, isn't it? Because we say it like that too. It's like, who knows what they're going to come up with next. The fact is they have to keep innovating or they ain't got a business.
That's right.
It's like everything. Like the technology moves and moves, and it's like, well, where does it end up? Where does it stop? Are we ever going to get to an end game where we just go, that's it, that's the perfect camera, we can't improve on that? Yeah,
that's right. And I think you almost hit the nail on the head before about that Sony. The fact that they're stopping at 33 megapixels. There's got to be a sweet spot. I've got the Fuji GFX 100S. That's a 100 megapixel camera. And going back to the very start of this episode about my printer, I've printed off stuff off that camera, and I've printed stuff off a third generation before Olympus EM1, and at 16 by 20 inch, I cannot tell the difference in sharpness.
No, and you never will.
All.
You never will.
No, and the colour looks great. Everything looks great. So I'm getting to the point now where, do I need this big camera? It's heavier. Yes, it's got amazing sensor, but am I ever going to use that? Probably not.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we talk about tools of the trade a lot, and I think if you were commissioned by, pick a brand, any brand, whatever, by someone, Nike, to go and shoot, an athlete standing on the top of Cradle Mountain, well, you're going to take your Fuji, right? And you're going to
take the best. That's right.
Correct. You're going to take the best that you've got. And that doesn't mean that we're all going to rush out and buy a Fuji GFX 100. It's just not going to happen, right? No. Aside from the fact that they're how much?
Well, I actually, I'm contemplating selling mine. I'm just thinking, I don't know if I need it. And I packaged it up the other day, even second hand with the 3 lenses would be probably about $15,000 worth of camera kit.
Yeah, no,
that's absolutely not for everyone.
Right,
hopefully for someone who wants to pay that kind of money.
Ship it to me and I'll sell it for you on consignment.
All right, I'll give you 2%.
Promise I won't use it much.
That's right. Your iPhone all of a sudden goes missing.
Yeah. No, my iPhone. You know what my iPhone would become? A phone.
That's right. Anyway, we'll see what's going on with Olympus OM.
Awesome. Hey, good episode tonight. I've really enjoyed it. Now, you'll notice that we didn't have a camera horror story or a deer cam. That's because we didn't get sent one. Let's just be honest. Didn't happen.
We didn't
That's
get
fine.
one. No.
That's fine. We're not upset. We're not insulted.
Or if we did, I missed it.
Well,
we'll find one.
You normally do send them to me, but that's fine. That's fine. If you've got a photography horror story you want to share, or if you've got a deer cam question where you ask a question and that man there in Hobart answers it, we would like to hear from you. We are pushing out to the hour mark. What do you got planned for this coming week, Cameron?
What have I got? Not much, really. I've got
that's the podcast for this week.
I've got a wedding to shoot next weekend. But,
awesome!
I'll probably just be getting these frames ready for the Cradle Mountain exhibition that I'm putting on soon. So, and then we will be having a break coming up soon in the podcast because I'll be rafting down the Franklin River for 8 days. So I can't come live from there. Well, so you'll be waiting.
Okay. So what do we do? Do we get a stand-in? Do I do it on my own? No, we'll have a week off. Okay, that's fine.
What about a guest presenter?
A guest host? Yes. No. Who could possibly fill the boots, mate? That's just not going to happen.
Let's put it out there to subscribers. If you'd like to co-host with Brendan and talk crap for an hour about landscape photography, send us your resume.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Exactly. We don't. Then there's no gear bias. We don't care if you shoot Sony.
No.
Canon. We don't care if you shoot Canon, all right? Bring your Canon gear. We like Canon. I like Canon.
You could get some interesting CVs, I think.
Yes. What have I got coming up this week, you ask? Yes, well, I am... Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. I am relaunching the workshops. It is finally... I know we have reached 80% vaccination status, so...
Amazing.
Well, we're going to by the time my workshops roll around. So I will be back to my entry-level SLR workshop at my shop. I'll be allowed to have higher density of numbers. It'll be in a controlled space. It'll be QR check-ins, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be awesome. I haven't done one for 2 years. So, and the groundswell is there. I'm getting questions almost daily. When are you starting your workshops? I've forgotten how to blah, blah, blah. So, can't wait. Awesome. And, of course, all that will drive subscribers because I'll now be plugging the podcast heavily.
Yeah, that's right. And are you going to do an entry-level iPhone workshop as well?
Yes. He removed that tongue from your cheek. Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
Sign me up for that one. I'll make a special appearance.
I've got a phone just for you, buddy. So we're going to be doing definitely the entry level will be in November. Possibly a landscape and seascapes one towards the end of November, and then I'll take December to get through all the madness of Christmas, and then in the new year we'll be back full steam ahead with some workshops, possibly even a local Bellarine Peninsula Day workshop. So lots of stuff. It's cool. I'm looking for. I've been re-energized because we're now able to get these workshops back up and running. So it's good stuff.
That is good. It's good to
looking forward to a busy week at camera and photo as well. So. Cameron, do you have any more to add to tonight's podcast?
No, I think I've spoken well enough on tonight's episode. Thank you again to all our massive subscribers. And please put plenty of comments in there. Give us some feedback. If you want to guest present with Brendan going into November sometime, please, I beg you, put down some comments. I would love to come back from 8 days on the Franklin River and watch an episode of this channel with someone else co-hosting with you. Unless they do a better job than me.
That's what I was just about to say. What if we get a real spike in subscribers? This could backfire badly.
We could make it. We got another box. We could have another person in there.
We could do many boxes.
You know what would make my day though if we had a female co-host for that week I'm away. So that would really put a smile on my dial to come back and see that.
Even if we had a guest, we haven't done that yet. We've spoken of it, but we haven't done it yet.
All right. Well, we got to work on it. Anyway, thank you again, Brendan, and you can close the show.
Well, we've gone over an hour now, so there goes the algorithm. It's going to be delayed on Apple again. Never mind. That's fine. Whatever. We like talking. Enjoy your week in photography, guys. Great to see you all, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.